Hi, welcome to our project on resistance to change,
I'm Danny Dorr.
I'm Chris Schultz.
and I'm Peter Hopkino.
Is resistance to change positive or negative? One recent study showed that even when employees are shown data that suggests they need to change, they latch on to whatever data they can find to suggest that they are okay and not in need of change. Their egos are fragile and they see change as threatening. In some ways, resistance to change is positive, provides a degree of stability and predictability to behavior. If there were not some resistance, organizational behavior would take on the characteristics of chaotic randomness.
Individual resistance to change. There are 4 reasons why individuals may resist change. 1. Self-interest. The people worry too much that they will lose something of value if change happens, so they look after their own self-interests rather than those in charge. Misunderstanding and lack of trust. People resist change when they do not understand the nature of the change and fear that the cost of the change will outweigh any potential gains for them. This occurs when people do not trust initiating the change. Different assessment. People resist change when they see it differently than their managers, so they think the cost will outweigh the benefits for the organization. And low tolerance. People resist change because they worry that they do not have the skills and behavior required for the new situation. They feel that they are being asked to do too much too quickly. Here's a little cartoon on resistance to change.
Ha ha ha.
Organizational resistance. Organizations are conservative by nature. They actively resist change. When organizations refuse to change with the times, they can face catastrophic results, much like the big 3, Ford, GM, and Chrysler, who needed to be bailed out financially. There are 6 major sources of organizational resistance to change. Structural inertia, which is the organizations have built-in mechanisms such as their selection processes and formal regulations to produce stability. When an organization is confronted with change, this structural inertia acts as a counterbalance to sustain stability. Limited focus of change. Organizations are made up of a number of independent subsystems. One cannot be changed without affecting the others, so limited changes in subsystems tend to be nullified by larger systems. Group inertia. Even if individuals want to change their behavior, group norms may act as a constraint. Threat to expertise. Changes in organizational patterns may threaten the expertise of specialized groups. Threat to establish power relationships, which is any redistribution of decision-making authority can threaten long-established power relationships within the organization. Threat to establish resource allocations is groups in the organization that control sizable resources often see change as a threat. They tend to be more content with the way things are. There we have another cartoon of this in action. That's the international symbol for don't rock the boat.
Okay, so now we come to overcoming resistance to change. There are 7 tactics that can be used by change agents to deal with resistance to change. The first one is education and communication. So, resistance occurs through a lack of understanding. You need to be clear, and there has to be your employees need to know what they have to do. So clear communication is one. You also have to communicate the rationale for change. So what's the reasons behind the change, and you have to make them come to your side for that change. The second one is participation and involvement. If individuals are put into a position of influence and status in the role for change, then they'll see all the work that went into it for them, and they won't want to see all their work go for nothing. Number 3, building support and commitment. You need to just build support so employees are emotionally committed to the change. Number 4, implementing changes fairly. Changes need to be fair for all employees. Number 5, manipulation and co-option. Withholding negative facts and twisting good facts to look better. Also, co-option is buying off leaders with key roles to get everyone to follow. Next one, selecting people who accept change. You need to select people with positive self-concept and high risk tolerance. Explicit and implicit coercion. Threats to people who have resistance to change. You need to threaten people with the thing to change. Next slide. Politics of change. The politics of change. Politics suggests that the demand for change is more likely to come from employees who are new to the organization, mostly because they have less invested in the status quo, or those managers who are slightly removed from the main power structure. Those managers who have achieved a senior position in the hierarchy are often a major impediment to change due to the fact that change can be a real threat to their status and position. However, by trying to bring about change, senior managers can symbolically convey to stakeholders, suppliers, employees, customers, that they are on top of the problems and they are adapting to a dynamic environment. But in doing so, of course, most of the time they tend to introduce changes that do not fundamentally challenge their status quo. This explains why boards of directors that recognize the need for the rapid introduction of fundamental radical changes in their organizations often turn to outside candidates for new leadership.
And
Politics.
our conclusion.
Our conclusion. Individuals resist change because of basic human characteristics such as perceptions, personalities, and needs. Organizations resist change because they are conservative and because change is difficult. The status quo is often preferred by those who feel they have the most to lose if the change goes ahead.
And that's everything. Thank you for joining us. See you next time.
Peace out.